Today, I woke up thinking that these days, learning a new language is honestly pointless since we have AI. But wouldn't it be so cool to actually speak another language? Wait a second. I'm speaking English. Pero si soy español, when did I learn English? Je parle aussi français. C'est dingue! C'est super cool ça! Alright, I think this must be a superpower or something like that. Let me see if I can also speak Japanese because I've always wanted to learn Japanese. Oreba supenjin desu? Nani? I'm just kidding. I cannot speak Japanese. It's so difficult. In today's video, we'll see the difference between en, sobre, and encima. Prepositions all we hate, because when learning a new language, prepositions are one of the most complicated and confusing things, aren't they? But don't worry, the first step to understand how they work is watching this video. Are you ready, Gato Jazz? Let's play a little game to see if you can figure out the meaning of these three prepositions on your own. Sobre, encima, y en. After watching the video, let me know in the comments if you got it right. First things first, we need to be clear that en, encima, and sobre are prepositions of place. Okay, fine. Encima isn't actually a preposition. It's actually an adverb of place. To make it a preposition, we'd have to add de, like encima de, which could make it a prepositional phrase. Happy now? Anyway, as I was saying, en, encima, and sobre indicate a location, a physical space in space. Though it's true that sometimes, for one reason or another, there are certain verbs that just insist on being paired with these prepositions, and not necessarily to point out a location. For example, pensar en, to think about, hablar sobre, to talk about, or discutir sobre, to argue about. You can use en in three different ways. The first one is to say that something is inside a closed or three-dimensional space. Las llaves están en el cajón. Voy en autobús. Estoy en el avión. Estoy en casa. Another way to use en is when we want to talk about something that is on something else. Dejé las llaves en la mesa. Había muchos libros en la estantería. And the last way to use en is when we are talking about places like a school, a university, a park, cities, or even countries. Use it especially when an object is resting on top of another one. In other words, when there's contact like a book on a table, like a phone on the bench. I'm gonna give you some Spanish examples. No dejes la mochila sobre la cama. ¿Por qué hay un ordenador sobre la mesa de la cocina? Puedes dejar el libro sobre esos papeles. But you can also use sobre when there's no contact. Check this out. El avión vuela sobre la ciudad. La lámpara cuelga sobre la mesa del comedor. If we want to use encima, we have to do it by adding de. Encima de. Though that's not always the case. Look. If you have made it this far, it means you are serious about learning Spanish. Learning a new language is just like hitting the gym. You can try to go it alone, but we all know how that ends. You eventually lose motivation because you don't know which exercises to do. You're unsure if your technique is the right one, and moreover, it feels like you are never seeing any results. With a language personal trainer, you can fix your mistakes in real time. You learn what you actually need and progress much faster, because you are training with someone who can point out your flaws while having a laugh, because honestly, it feels like hanging out with a friend. Así que ya sabes, deja de estudiar español y empieza a hablarlo. You can book your first Spanish lesson for free. Check out the description. We usually use encima de to say that an object is at a higher point relative to another one. Let me give you some examples so you can understand it better. El gato está encima de la mesa. Me gusta el espejo que está encima de la estantería. He dejado las llaves encima de la televisión. Deja el abrigo encima de la silla. Encima de la puerta principal hay una luz. I'm sure you've noticed that in some of these sentences we can actually use en, sobre, and encima de in the same sentence, like in deja las llaves en la mesa, deja las llaves sobre la mesa, deja las llaves encima de la mesa. All these three are translated to leave the keys on the table. Then, what's the difference? Don't panic, Gato Jazz. I'm gonna show you the Jedi mind trick you need to master en, sobre, and encima de. When it comes to talk about being on, I mean, when something is lying on something else, all three can be used. So you have to pay attention to the linguistic register. Just wait a minute and you'll understand. En is the basic one. You can use it no matter the context. Encima de is slightly more informal. It's perfect for conversations. Sobre. This one is slightly more formal. It sounds more elegant. The best advice I can give you is that if you want to sound natural in Spanish, the right thing to do is to combine them. But remember, this only works when it's about something is on something, when something is lying on a surface. If you mean that something is above, like in the light above the door, the mirror above the shelves, it doesn't work. Those can only be translated to... Oh, just one last thing. Remember that encima de más el becomes encima del, encima del escritorio, encima de la ventana, encima de los escritorios, encima de las ventanas. Got it? By the way, don't mix up this sobre with this sobre. The same about this encima and this encima. Nos vemos en el próximo vídeo, Gato Jazz.